So welcome to using Energy Star for K-12 schools design and operation. In this webinar today, we're going to do a live presentation, a live demonstration of the Portfolio Manager and Target Finder tools. So I'm Karen Butler, as Carson said. I've been managing commercial building design for Energy Star for the last, I'd say, I don't really want to tell, but I'm going to say for the last 15, 20 years, but I've been part of Energy Star for a bit longer. I currently manage strategic outreach for commercial building design market to incorporate energy targets to inform operational performance. And I guess it's very prevalent today, and we really get to see that people drive energy, people drive the building energy, not the buildings, whereas most of our buildings are quiet now, so there's little energy being used. So I also manage the Design to Earn Energy Star initiative for Energy Star, which is a way that EPA recognizes design projects that receive an Energy Star 1 to 100 score of 75 or above for its estimated design energy. I created Target Finder to provide whole building energy performance targets and comparative analysis of design energy early in the design process. And then next, I'm going to introduce my illustrious speakers. So first we have John Nichols, Mosley Architect, and I love his title, Director of Energy Analytics and Informed Design. Best title ever. And as you hear him speak, you will understand the type of information he brings to the table. He's very knowledgeable about energy and design. And our next speaker is John Lord. He's Energy Manager and Coordinator, and you'll see that he has quite a few professional affiliations, and they're not for show. John is very active in his community, his other community activities, as well as with young people and helping them understand energy and working with energy management activities. And both of them will give you a bit more about their accolades and professional activities. But one thing that they may not tell you is that both Mosley Architects, Fairfax County Public Schools, and John's previous employer, Loudoun County, all have been awarded Partner of the Year. And so these are two cool school dudes that know a lot about schools and Energy Star. So with that, let's get started. So in this presentation, we're going to talk mainly about focusing on energy at design and how it's critical to helping you achieve success for the operational goals. Without the decisions being made first at design, it's very difficult to get the results at the end. The other thing we'll talk about are metrics that are from Energy Star Portfolio Manager and Target Finder tools, and helping you make informed decisions at design and showing how the building is operating, how the building is performing during its operation, and then also how achieving Energy Star certification and recognition from EPA signals that your properties will save energy, money, and be part of the solution for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And at the end, we'll have time for Q&A from our panelists. So according to the Institute of Market Transformation, who does a lot of work with disclosure laws and disclosure activity, benchmarking activity, they found that in many of these projects that come into the fold that are new properties are missing or not meeting their targets by a large margin. This also prompted that the AIA saw this and realized that there was an opportunity for the A&E community to really get on board and start considering energy performance in the overall integrated process of design. Typically, energy is looked at much later in the process. Now it's being considered as a key driver and as a key activity that needs to be addressed early on. So connecting energy design with actual performance. What is this all about? This is where Energy Star plays a role in the design activities, in designing and measuring and quantifying energy at the design process. So first of all, you have to select the right target. John Nichols, Mosley Architects, will discuss targets later, what they are and what they mean during design. Secondly, the Energy Star tools in the graph on the right-hand side provide you with information that can help drive the energy decisions early in design. You pick a set of strategies and you measure those, or you measure those against your target. what strategies do you need to use to meet your operational goals? And again, these will be discussed a bit later in how it's done and some examples with our two speakers. Also, the other important piece here is that the targets are easy to use, and it's the same metrics for design and operations. For an example, building owners do not measure the performance of their building by percent that they achieved over code. That is a good metric to have in design, but it's not the only metric. So what we want to offer here is an opportunity to share some other metrics that complements what you're currently doing. And then the last one is the owner involvement and the architect, the owner involvement in the architect's commitment and engagement. In the beginning, if all parties are at the table, energy is championed, people all understand what the target goal is, it's a good way to convey information and have that permeate throughout the process. So here's a project that we did. There's two projects. The picture on the left is a project that was done back in 2005. And this project actually achieved Design to Earn the Energy Star, and it is a certified school. It's Kennard Junior High School in Fort Collins, Colorado. The owner was very keen on, or the school district was very keen on, making sure that this building was going to be designed to meet its goals and meet the objectives. Not only did they have their own school district, but their parents, students, and other stakeholders in the community that are very interested in how their schools are performing. The chart on the right are a series of school buildings that we downloaded from Portfolio Manager for Loudoun County Public Schools, and it's an overlay of the EUIs for the design and the building and the operating building. So this was a chart that was created, created over time. And what it does, it provides information so that once you have your design, and in most of the cases, the design EUIs were lower than the operational, and it provides a metric for you to understand what the design intent is and what activities you need to do to get the building to achieve its operational performance by calibrating systems and making them work in conjunction with the occupants' needs. The next is a graphic that we created showing how the tools, Target Finder and Portfolio Manager, can be used throughout the process, the design and the operational process. And if you look at the chart, well, I guess I can use my mouse here, you can see that at the beginning when you're making design decisions, that you can use both tools. Oftentimes, many of the design outfits will use Target Finder because it's quick and easy, and I'll give you a few attributes about it in a few seconds. But anyway, as you move through the process, then you check your design criteria, your strategies, you measure them, you look at the energy component. Does it meet the target? If it's yes, you continue on. If it's no, you go back and recalibrate. And as you very well know, and many of you may know, that this is quite an iterative process. And it goes through the entire sequence of the property for energy and operations. And it also shows how you can achieve Design to Earn Energy Star at construction documents. Then the building goes on to be built, constructed, and operated. Goes through its commissioning phase, measurement and verification. And then it also when it begins to receive utility data, that's when you actually calibrate that part of the building, or you connect that with the design in Portfolio Manager. And then also it is a way for you to, at the end, you can certify your properties as Energy Star. So Target Finder, what is it? It's an online tool. It's no cost to use, and it calculates a couple different things. It will calculate the total annual energy use. It calculates EUI and energy cost. It also will show you the Energy Star 1 to 100 score for more than 15 properties, and then percent better than median EUIs and total energy can be obtained for more than 80 projects. It also shows the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the project, and also you can document the results by generating a document called the Statement of Energy Design Intent, and this document is really handy because it's bankable. It shows a summary of what you've achieved or what your intentions are, and it has a signature block for the owner, the architect of record, and the energy verifier. So it can be used as a proxy to show that you've met a series of requirements with the appropriate sign-offs. On the other hand, portfolio manager is like the parent. It's the one that you actually have to log in. It's saved in a secured, on a secure set of servers, and you get a few more features with this one. So if you look at the right side, you can see that not only do you get the things that the metrics that are provided by Target Finder, you can also do water consumption, waste management, and track green power purchases. And you also, this is where you would apply for any of the recognition from EPA, the Energy Star certification. And that's both for the design projects and for the existing buildings. And again, you can use it to track energy over time. And here, this is one that's probably not on any of the other slides about benchmarking, and that's benchmark-based performance targets. I put that one in because, like the chart that I showed earlier, you can use the tool to set up a group of properties, and you can go in, group those properties, download them into an Excel spreadsheet, look at their EUIs, and use that as a way of setting a meaningful target for your buildings. For an example, if you had a group of libraries and you were designing a library, you could take, say, all the libraries from the DC public system, track their performance, and then use that as a way to begin to pull out a target that's realistic for that property type. So now that I've given my little spiel, we're going to go into the real-life examples of projects that were done by Mosley Architects and also Fairfax County Public Schools, and they're going to demonstrate how they use the tool to make decisions about energy and both of their perspectives. John Lord represents an owner's perspective, and John Nichols represents an architect's design perspective. And this placeholder slide is a little kind of funny little slide in here. And what it's telling you is that because we're going live, when we created the PDF version, the view will get sent to you. It will have representative slides in there for all the things that John and John are going to discuss, but it may not match exactly. So that's all this is a placeholder. So with that, I am going to pass the baton to John Nichols, Mosley Architects, and let me grab the ball and bring it here. And John, you should be on.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Well, it's great to join everyone this afternoon, and wanted to share our experience with these tools. We have been using them as a firm for the past 12 years. We found them to be a great resource for our K-12 designs in particular. So I wanted to just spend a little bit of time walking you through the tools and showing you how we use them as part of our design process, and why we think they lead to better design and better project outcomes. So there's 4 main steps that we use in using these tools during design. I want to walk you through each one, and it's easier to do so in the actual tool. So we're going to spend most of our time on the actual website and really just use this PowerPoint as kind of a framework. But in these 4 steps, really the big goal for us as a design firm is to make sure that we are part of an integrated design team where the school district, architects, engineers are all working together on identifying the right target and then evaluating different strategies for achieving it. So the first step is to determine what that target should be. And when we talk about targets, our go-to for K-12 schools is designed to earn the Energy Star certification. Very easy to pull up this website. You go to energystar.gov. On the main page, you'll see it right there after you click on the For Business. So I'm going to really quickly jump out of the PowerPoint here and take you through that. So here we are at energystar.gov. In the middle of the page, you have For Your Business. And then right in the middle is 2 different links, Portfolio Manager and Target Finder. I'm going to start out in Target Finder to show you what that looks like, but we will talk about the differences between that and the Portfolio Manager tool. So clicking on Target Finder, you get a real quick overview of what this tool does, and then you can access it and actually start using it right here. So the first thing Target Finder will do is just ask you to fill out some very basic information about your project. The last time the 3 of us did this presentation, the movie Black Panther by Marvel had just come out, and so we named our project Wakanda High School. We'll do that again here. And you just basically tell it where it's located. Some very basic info. Some of this is already pre-populated. You can see I'm going to change it to Raleigh today, since that's where I'm located. And zip code is important. That does tell Target Finder how to adjust the target for what is sort of typical fuel use and emissions types in your territory, really in your zip code. You're going to leave it tied to conventional units, say that it'll be completed in 2022. And then here's where you would choose what project type. You can see you can select just about anything out there, but since what we are talking about today is K-12 schools, we'll do that here. I'm going to say that this project will be about roughly 300,000 square feet. Anything you enter today, you can adjust later. So even if everything's not known exactly, it's not a big deal. This will be one single building. So once you do that, since I told it was a K-12 school, it's automatically populated with some parameters that I need to tell it specific to that part of the project. If you have multiple, you can add another use type, although that's not very common for K-12, with the exception of parking, which I'll show you in a second. So here I'm going to say that, yes, this is a high school. Right now, we don't really know exactly how many staff will be there, so what I'm going to do is say we'll use a default. We do know there will be about 2,000 students, be in operation for about 10 months of the year. And then weekend operation. I'm going to say yes, but only because I've done this tool before. If you're unsure about any of these inputs, you can hover over them as a tooltip and see what it is that they mean. If you need a little bit more information, you can also click on them and it'll give you a much more detailed explanation. So that's made this tool really pretty straightforward and easy to use. I'll also leave the number of computers as a default because we don't know that just yet. The idea is that I'm basically doing this as soon as we have a program and a site for the building. So even before we've designed up the massing and the floor plans, this giving us the target as early as possible. I'm going to say that we do have cooking facilities and that right now we don't yet know how much floor area will be used for food prep. We'll leave that as default. 2 cooler freezers, 100% heated, 100% cooled. That can obviously vary for different types of climate, so it can be selected as 90% or something lower as well. We'll say about 15,000 square foot gym, and school district is a Honda school district. At this point, if I did want to come here and say what kind of parking, I could certainly do so and click add. I'm going to leave this blank for now. All this would really do at this stage is make our target a little bit easier to meet because it would include the expected energy from any kind of parking lot lights or garage. But right now, we'll just leave that alone because we don't yet know. I'm also at this stage of design going to not enter our expected energy use because right now we have not yet run an energy model. So really we're just trying to come up with a target. And there's 2 different targets you can choose here. The default is to come up with the Energy Star score. 75 basically signifies that it's the 75th percentile of K-12 energy performance nationwide, adjusted for all these different inputs that we're looking at above. So if you're in the top 25% of your class, you earn that Energy Star certification, and it signifies that you've done a really good job. You can also choose to input a certain percent better than the median, but for our purposes today, we're going to show you what the actual score or target would be to achieve certification. So I click results, and the first thing you see is that I don't yet have a design score. That's because we've not told it to any kind of information about what our expected energy use is. We're really just coming up with the initial target. This table at the top shows you your design target in terms of the site EUI in purple is about 45, but the source EUI, which is really what is determining your score, is about 102. So it gives you both metrics, but it's really important to note that Energy Star considers source EUI, and that's really what you need to be looking at to make sure you're on track to meet it. At the very bottom, there's also a much more detailed table showing you all these outputs, everything from Energy Star score, source EUI, site EUI, and then also not just in terms of kBTU per square foot, but total kBTU, and then energy costs. So these are all kind of what you would expect to go after for your design target. But again, it's this source EUI, that is the number that we're trying to achieve. One other really important thing to point out here before we go to the next screen is that this fuel mix in the middle here, this is a default right now for what is typical in our zip code. And because the balance of electric versus natural gas has a very large impact on source EUI and therefore the score, it's important to pay attention to that and make sure that that sort of is what you expected for your building. If you have an all-electric design instead of one that combines multiple fuel sources, or might have electric from the grid and electric from solar, this will become more specific as we start typing in information about our building. But important to kind of see what the default is for your building. And then at the bottom, because we were doing this in Target Finder and not yet logged into Portfolio Manager, it's prompting me to say, do I want to save this design? And I do. If I don't yet have a Portfolio Manager account, I can actually create one very quickly, easily. It's free right here and there. Or in my case, since I already have one, I can come here and add it to that account. Well, I won't do so because I've already added it, and we'll jump back in just a minute here. But this whole process really works best when we're figuring out this target very early in design. And you can see it really didn't take more than 10 minutes to come up with what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to PowerPoint real quick. That was step one. Step two is once we have that target, we need to take some time to evaluate different strategies for meeting that target. And those strategies can include anything from different fuel sources to different HVAC system types, renewable energy systems, envelope, pretty much anything that would be a performance strategy that you want to evaluate. We can simulate the impact on the Energy Star score. And at this stage, it's, again, primarily being driven by the AE team, but with frequent feedback to and from the owner about what strategies we should consider and why we're doing so. So this is an example that we put together for a real-world project evaluating 4 different HVAC systems. So we did a life cycle cost analysis to understand the cost impacts of each one, but we also ran each one through Target Finder to see what Energy Star score they were coming up with. And that 75 line on gray there, anything above that is great because basically that means that project or that design option is eligible for design to earn the Energy Star certification. You can see we're actually a little bit surprised that option 2 with the water-cooled chiller actually outperformed the geothermal heat pumps in terms of the Energy Star score. And we're going to explain why here in a few screens. But that's a good example of why it's important for us in K-12 design, really run these numbers through Energy Star and see on a 1 to 100 level how each one is comparing to one another. Another reason we really like using the Energy Star tool for K-12 is because it helps you understand all the different metrics that are thrown about in a simple 1 to 100 score. So when we talk about energy, sometimes we're talking about EUI or energy use intensity, sometimes we're talking about cost, sometimes we're talking about CO2 emissions. And the Energy Star output will show all of those in one single table in very easy to read format. But again, the real benefit to us in trying to communicate these different options to different stakeholders is on a real simple 1 to 100 level. Helps you untangle all the different complicated metrics that can be used. And it helps us make sure that we're, as designers, is using the same kind of language that hopefully the school district is going to be using when they move into the building and are looking at the Energy Star score in actual operations and seeing how that compares to the design. Another thing really important to note is all these different metrics here obviously have a bearing on net zero design. And when you say net zero, do you mean net zero energy on a site basis, a source basis? Do you mean so in terms of cost, or are you talking about net zero carbon emissions? And all these metrics are out there, all these different definitions. So being able to look at all of these results in one place can be very powerful for understanding what you're able to achieve for net zero and what's going to be more of a stretch goal. So once we have all these numbers and we've put them into the Target Finder tool, how do we actually come up with these results that I'm showing you? I'm going to show my screen here again. And we'll jump back into the tool. All right, so back at the EnergyStar.gov site, I'm going to log into Portfolio Manager now because the assumption is that if you've done this on a few different projects, you've taken the 10 minutes or so it takes to set up an account, and you want to go in and see specifically what some different design options you're considering are. I've got a bunch of different properties here. I'm going to pull up the one we just created since we had saved that one to our account. And then there's a lot of different tabs. John Lord is going to talk about these in just a few minutes, but for our purposes, where we're spending most of the time as designers in the design phase is obviously this design tab. You can see right now we don't meet the requirements to calculate a score, and that's really just because we haven't typed in any information from our energy model. So once we've got some energy model outputs, this is where we would come back in to update and see what those look like. This is also a good time to just confirm if all these same inputs that we did previously are still correct. We now know that the number of staff is actually going to be about 220, so I'll update that here while we are. And then here in the middle of the page is where I'm going to uncheck that we don't have any energy estimates, because now we do. This is where you can come in and say, for sure we're going to have electricity from the grid, and we're going to measure that in terms of kilowatt hours. And I'm going to type in the numbers we got from our energy model. So that's about 2,700,000 kilowatt hours of electric. And we also had natural gas for this design. And firms, looked like we had about 40,000 firms. And then I'll come down here and I'll say Edit Design to see the results. So what this is showing us is that luckily we actually just barely meet that 75 target for design to earn the Energy Star. So that tells us that this is a good design solution. Obviously we want to keep updating this and see where we land, but that's a good starting point. Let's say instead of an electric and natural gas solution, we were looking at an all-electric design. That's become something very important to look at as we get more and more momentum behind the idea of electrification. So we'll come down here, edit our design. We'll take out natural gas. And then because this is an all-electric design, it's using a little bit more electricity. So instead of 2,700,000, the results we got for this one were 3,400,000 kilowatt hours. So I'll come here, click Edit Design. We'll see where it landed. So our rating actually went down, and it's really interesting to point out why. So we were at about a 76 score. Now we're at a 70. We didn't look at this table in detail, but what happened is the site EUI went down, or it improved, but our source EUI went up. So this design solution, even though it's all electric, just because of the nature of that design, didn't actually achieve as good of an Energy Star score. So it's important to simulate different design options and see where you land, because sometimes they can prove you wrong in terms of what you expected, and we've had that happen to us any number of times. So one other simulation I want to show is, let's say we stick with the all-electric design, but now we're going to add in a solar PV array that's sized to take about 20% of the total electricity from the grid and supply that through solar. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to add that solar array, measured in terms of kilowatt hours, and this solar array is expected to contribute about 800,000 kilowatt hours. Very important when you do so to take that out of the total for the grid electric, because the idea is that if you're producing it through the solar array, you've reduced what you need from the grid. When I do that, you'll see that our design actually improved quite a bit. So this would be a good solution, and this would still be in where we need it to be for Energy Star certification. So those are really just 3 quick examples. I wanted to show you them because I think it's very relevant to the idea of net zero design and electrification, given that those 2 concepts really need to consider both energy efficiency and renewable energy, and these tools have been really good ways to do so. All right, so I'm just going to quickly show you 2 other steps before we turn it over to John Lord so he can walk you through operations. But after we've evaluated different design options, hopefully we've landed where we wanted to be with the actual score. And if so, we can submit for design to earn the Energy Star certification. This is a free certification. It's optional. It's used in tandem with an Energy Star label that's based on the actual bills during operation. And this is something that would be done, again, typically by the AE team, although in coordination with the school district. So I'll show you again what that would look like in the actual tool. So here I am in that same design. If I say that I do want to submit for Energy Star certification, you'll see that right now I'm going to need to update my design's energy use because it's based on a few defaults. So before I can do that, I need to go back in and fix those default entries. So here we'll say we didn't actually have 500 computers, we only had 300, and we had about 6,000 square feet of floor area used for food prep. Real briefly, I want to point out that the items with stars, those are the ones that are actually used to calculate your Energy Star score. So the ones that don't have stars, they're not quite as essential. It's good to be as accurate as possible, but they're not going to actually impact your Energy Star rating. So we'll see what happens when I change those two. Okay, good. So now I am eligible for Energy Star certification, or excuse me, design to earn the Energy Star. I'm going to click here to do so. I'm going to walk through this pretty quickly because I want to leave plenty of time for John Lord to talk about operations, but this is where I would say when the owner is expected to move in, who the contact is at the owner, so I'm just going to choose example owner, who the contact is at the architect of record, choose myself, and then who will actually sign the Energy Star application. In this case, it needs to either be a registered project architect or another licensed professional. Typically, the PE that did the energy model is who we're going to choose here. I won't spend any time on these because I want to leave some time, but I'm just going to say yes for these first ones, and then there's no on a couple. Very self-explanatory what's being asked here, so these typically only take about 10 minutes to review real quickly. And then I'll come here and click to generate that SETI form that Karen was talking about. And this is where you would just review that all the inputs are indeed correct. And at the very bottom is the space where the verifying professional, so the professional engineer in our case, is going to go ahead and sign that application. So I'll jump out of that. And then I want to show you the last step. So once you've applied for design to earn the Energy Star certification, you received that certification, the next step is for us to please go ahead and transfer that property to the project owner. And once we do that, we can see exactly what kind of data they are having during the operations and be able to share that data back and forth. If we can take the time to transfer this property after we're done with the design, saves them quite a bit of time to not have to recreate that project from the outset. I'll just real briefly show you how to do so. And you can either do so in the project details or at the My Portfolio view, which John's going to talk about here. We can come to the very bottom and say transfer ownership of that property to another user. I want to just transfer one property for now, and then come in here and say which one that was, and then we're all set. All right, so I'm going to leave it here because I went a little bit beyond time, and I'm going to transfer this over to John Lord, but appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about how we use these tools in design.
Thank you, John. That was very good.
All right, terrific. Yeah, thank you. And with two Johns, we've just gone by last name, so Nichols and Lord, but Mr. Nichols, thank you very much. That was wonderful. So the next piece of this is going to be existing buildings. And I've had the great pleasure and the honor of being able to work for two of the largest school divisions in Virginia. My previous employer, Loudoun County Public Schools, and then my current employer, Fairfax County Public Schools, have both been long-term Energy Star partners. They've both been named a Partner of the Year, and they've both had great success certifying buildings. But when Karen and Nichols and I were talking about this presentation, I was sort of hesitant to participate to begin with, frankly, because my experience with Design to Earn Energy Star was all really with the previous employer. But then I kind of came up with this idea of a view from the finish line, so to speak, and a view from the starting point. And so, you know, in terms of being able to do the Design to Energy Star process with Fairfax County Public Schools, I kind of feel like we're at the starting point. there has to be some reason why the school system would want to do one other thing, one additional piece. And there's lots of reasons to use the Design to Energy Star process. And so I thought back to, in my mind, why did Loudoun County schools start using it? And they started using it really because they wanted to have an alternative to a third-party verification tool that had a cost associated with it. And so since Energy Star is free, they have this third-party verification tool that is free. And so that's a great reason to do it. You have that whole third-party validation, and you get it for free. Another kind of really good reason that I'm hoping that will be influential in the decision moving forward, I'm hopeful that Fairfax County Public Schools will choose to adopt this as a tool that they use on a regular basis as well. And I'm hopeful that they will do it really based on the fact that they are a school division that has made a really strong commitment to being involved with climate change, with being a school system that has really made a statement. And so here it is on our website. As far as I know, we're the only school division that has a resolution about climate change, but I'm going to go through it really quickly. The link is up here, so if you watch this video again, you can look at it and see what you want. But it basically says climate change is real, it's caused by people, and we have the requirement really then to do something about it. And so what we are doing about it, among other things, is really trying to manage our portfolio of existing buildings. So when you go into Portfolio Manager and you log in, you're going to get to this landing page, and you've seen the landing page again and again and again. Most people, if you don't have a Portfolio Manager account, kind of feel like, well, gosh, I wish I could just try it. So I'm going to make you a cool offer that you can do. Both of my employers, my most recent and my previous, have agreed to post their Portfolio Manager data in a publicly accessible way. So what I'm doing when I log into this Portfolio Manager account, right now I'm using this Fairfax County Public Schools one, and it's not going to let us go in and edit anything, so you can't go in and edit anything, but you can go in and you can look at it, and you can test it, and you can see what kind of reports can I run, what kind of data is available, how easy or how difficult is it to navigate through. And it's real data. It's not, theoretical data or imaginary data. And so it's largely up to date. Between those two school divisions, there's over 40 million square feet of schools, and there's nearly 300 school buildings between those two schools. And they represent buildings that are over 100 years old and buildings that are not even 1 year old. And so we'll look at both of them, but I just want to briefly show you the Fairfax one. First of all, when you go and get a building, we'll just pick this first one on the list. As a building owner, you're going to have an interest in putting in your data for your schools. And when I say your data for your schools, you can put energy data in, and the energy can be like John Nichols was showing you earlier. It can be solar, it can be natural gas, it can be heating oil, it can be electricity. If you name it, there's a fuel type available, you can put it in Energy Star. You can also track your water data. The water data doesn't affect your ability to certify your buildings, but the water data is trackable. And you can also track your waste and your materials. Now, neither of the school divisions I've been in so far have taken it upon themselves to use the waste and materials tracking, but you can do it. And it's probably not a bad plan if you have that data available, because then you put it all in one place for people. When you do this, there's the ability to enter data by hand, if that's your intent. You can go in. Now, I'm not going to be able to enter data again because I'm in the read-only version, but that's okay. If you wanted to enter data, you would just add another entry, and you could put this data in, and then you could actually hit enter, and it would take it. there's also many ways for the application programming interfaces or APIs to drop data directly into Energy Star. So if you have Energy Cap, if you use School Dude Utility Direct, and I'm not going to try to name a whole lot of names because I'm not really here to market anybody's product, but there are companies that if you want to use them for managing the data on a different level, you can, and they'll load that data into Energy Star, which will then let you keep track of it. And so keeping track of the data, that's what this is really for. And so let's pick just another school real quick. I'm just going to pick a random one. We'll go to Center Ridge Elementary School. And when you go in here and you want to look at what the energy use is, it will give you a very nice chart of the data up here. And you can hover on your information and it will show you what the numbers were. You can do it through the natural gas. You can watch the seasonal changes to see if we had a summertime natural gas use that was up here, we would know we have a problem. So it's really quite nice. It'll also allow you to look at the tabular data if you want to. You can click into the account, into the meter entry, and it will give you the table of the data. So, and you can go back as far as you want to go back. So apparently we have an overlap in our data back here in 2002. That's something we can go in there and fix. But as you can see, it's real live data, not trying to hide anything from anybody. But it's nice to be able to track your data. Another thing that you can do in here is you can document your results of your existing buildings. So if you want to see, what is your Energy Star score for a school, you can go to any building you want to, and it will produce for you a page and show you what your current score is. So this isn't one of our top performers. We have a lot of schools that are Energy Star certified, but we have some that aren't. I mean, this isn't even in the top 50%. And that's the reality. I mean, one of the things about energy management and one of the things about dealing with this kind of data that an owner needs to know is what are you really up against? What are you really facing? It's nice to have the story of success to tell people, and maybe that's the public face that you want to put out. But internally, and if you're really going to set goals for your program, you have to know where are the opportunities. And so Annandale Terrace Elementary School is clearly an opportunity for us. Another thing that you can do when you look at these buildings is you can actually analyze the data. And so when you go into here and you look at this energy area, it will give you the details of the property. So you can look and make sure, well, what is your property set up as? And John Nichols was saying at the beginning that you can have a property type that's actually the school, and you can have a property type that is the parking lot. And the reason that you might choose to track your parking lot is that you may have, for example, lighting that is fed off of the meter for the building. And so it may look like the energy use intensity of that building is higher than it really should be because you're not using that energy in the building. You're using that energy in the parking lot. So you want to be able to keep track of that square footage and where the energy is being used. It also gives you a really nice summary here. So you can look at the summary of what was your baseline information. And for this building, it's back in 2002. What's the current energy data? You can see what the change is. And, frankly, we've used more energy now than we did in 2002. That could be for a number of different reasons. Programs could have been added, technology could have been added, but it is what it is. So we're going to try to get down to the end of this presentation here real quick. And I'm going to just sign out of the Fairfax County Public Schools one. And I'm going to go now into this Loudoun County Public Schools one because I just want to show one or two quick things and then I'll wrap it up. The login here, LCPS guest, and then READONLY, exclamation point, read only. And we should get into the Loudoun County Public Schools one. So in here, another thing that you all heard Nichols talked about was the ability to track solar information. And so in this school district, there are several schools that have solar panels that have been tracked. Their energy data is in Portfolio Manager. And so here is a school with the energy data that includes a solar PV array, it includes natural gas, and it includes electric. You may have noticed that the current score is 84. It's not eligible to apply for Energy Star certification only because it earned a certification within the last 12 months. Another thing you can do in these Portfolio Manager tools is you can create custom reports. It has some of the most popular ones up here. It also has, you can create custom reports that you set the parameters, which buildings, which energy data pieces you want. You can go in and it has some custom, well, not really custom, they're standard reports, but they're preloaded with the parameters already built in. You just sort of tell it what you want. One of my favorites, and in an effort to keep it short, is just to have this statement of energy performance. So you can select whatever property you want. And I'll just pick this one that we're in right now, Douglas Elementary School. You got the current year energy, and if you download the report, it will produce you a statement of energy performance. You can give this to a school principal. You can give this to a school district administrator. You can give it to an elected official. And it's not really confusing because it's an 84 out of 100. That's good. You can tell them 75 and above means you're in the top 25%, and that's what Energy Star qualifies as certified. It's easy to understand. And then the final thing that I want to talk about before I turn it over to the Q&A is when you go back into this process and you take a look at these buildings, we'll hit Douglas Elementary School again just to keep it simple. When Nichols was talking about the design information and where architects kind of live in the design tab, this design tab is populated because we had an architect and an engineering group that put this information in, and now it shows. This building was originally designed to earn a 79, but it's actually earning an 84. So this is a success story. Anyway, you can go on and on and on and dig through these things and find all kinds of great information. You can do it without having to create your own portfolio manager, without having to twist somebody's arm. You can find it right here with these two logins that are free and available for you. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Karen, and we're going to try to drop into our Q&A session for the remainder of this, or she'll have some wrap-up comments then Q&A.
Thank you very much, John Lord and John Nichols. That was excellent. Excellent overview of the activities and the use of the tools. And hopefully this was useful. It makes it very easy to understand how to incorporate Energy Star and use Energy Star in conjunction with other activities, albeit other certification activities, net zero activities, looking at renewables, and it's really kind of powerful to be able to have that communication with the districts. And let's see, do I have the ball here? Let's see, I don't. There. I am not sharing there. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so he was just talking about using Energy Star certification, and it's a way to signal to the stakeholders that your building is intended to be efficient. And of course, once it's built and operated, that it is efficient. Energy Star is recognized by more than 90% of the American population, and so people really understand that it means efficiency in and out. Our website has a plethora of tools. We're in the process of redesigning it to make it a little easier to negotiate, but there is a lot of information there to help you make decisions about your projects. And we have the portfolio manager area has various tutorials, training, how-tos. It's a lot of information there. And then we also have a list of all the projects that achieved Design to Earn Energy Star, along with those who have actually gone on to be certified. And so you can go to that table and pick out projects. Unfortunately, I had a lot of case studies in there, but somehow they've gone, they took a little walk, so I have to investigate where they are and get them back in. But some of them do have case studies linked to them, so there's contact information if you want to talk to someone about a specific project. Also, there's the building locator, which is this here. You can go in and put in K-12 schools, and it'll pull up all the K-12 schools in your area. You can pull up all the ones in the nation. You can download this information into Excel spreadsheets. And then lastly is this one here for benchmarking and disclosure. We didn't talk about that much in this session, but it does affect the population of schools in those jurisdictions that have public ordinances for benchmarking the performance of the buildings. And that is some of the key pages that would be helpful. And I sent Carson, or our host at ICF, a PDF document, but I am going to ask him to let me update it, and I'm going to get put the two websites on that John was just talking about for Loudoun County and for Fairfax County, so you can go in if you want to have a look-see of a portfolio. And also just to get an idea of what's in there, how these schools are performing, and so on and so forth. So with that, I am ready to go into the question and answer